Welcome everyone. Good morning. All right. So my name is Emily Nelson and I am the virtual host for this workshop. And so before we get started, I do have some disclosures to read in regards to this workshop. So the first one is the recording disclosure. So please note that we are recording this workshop. If you would rather be incognito, please turn off your camera or change your name and or remove your name. And we are not recording any content from any breakout sessions if there are any. And you may notice at the top of your screen a red button that says live on Zoom with rev.com. This is our live closed captioning service, and it does not mean that we are live streaming video anywhere publicly. In regards to the conference comfort agreements, we ask participants to please honor the conference comfort agreements found on page 6 of your conference program or listed on the Peerpocalypse website. If at any time you need peer support, please visit www.peerpocalypse.com for a list of the on-call peer support specialists. And we do ask participants to keep themselves on mute. And if you have any questions or comments for the presenter, please utilize the chat box. This is going to be a very full workshop today. And so with that, I am now passing it over to Jennifer.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Recovery with Your Whole Body. So I know you guys signed up for this. I really appreciate that. As you know, the purpose of this workshop is to demonstrate evidence-based, simple and effective breathing, meditation, and physical exercises that anyone can do anywhere at any time to self-regulate. In this workshop, we're going to discuss stress and trauma's long-term effects on modern people and how they have affected how we cope. With mindfulness and awareness, I hope to educate people on how not to just recognize when they are safe, but to recover from stress and trauma triggers more quickly. So I hope that's congruent with what everybody signed up for and hopes to accomplish today. Let's go to the next slide, Emily. Some things I want to mention about this particular workshop is that I'm going to ask you to do weird stuff on purpose. And sometimes doing weird stuff on purpose is weird, right? So if it means that you're going to actually participate to turn your camera off, please feel free to do that. I'm certainly not going to take that personal. I really hope that you get a full experience from this activity. Please, if you're doing movement, remember to never, ever, 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 not even a little bit, move into pain. These are therapeutic exercises, and the word exercise might be a little misleading. We're not muscle building. We're not doing any cardio or strengthening and conditioning. Therapeutic exercises are weird and require mindfulness. So again, please make sure to turn your camera off if that helps you engage with the activity. You are the only one that you need to please in these movements. So even if you're just thinking about the movements, that can still count for quite a bit. While we're here, we're going to learn about polyvagal theory stuff. That's a pretty weird term. Poly means many. Vagal is a reference to your vagus nerve. We're also going to familiarize ourselves with the 12 stages of growth and practice some positive affirmations. I know that can seem kind of hokey for a lot of different reasons, and that's okay, right? Take what works for you and leave the rest, as in all things that we do. Yeah. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So why am I the person who's going to teach you about polyvagal theory today and walk you through some of these exercises? Well, if I haven't introduced myself already, hi, I'm Jennifer Siegel. I'm a structural yoga therapist, and I'm also a peer support mentor. So that means right now, my job is to model what works for me for the clients that I get to work with. And that means every week I get to lead 5 therapeutic yoga groups for inpatients as well as outpatients. I get to lead 3 different meditation groups for inpatients and for outpatients. I get to lead a course about CBT and pain management using therapeutic yoga skills for outpatients. And also, more importantly, these things work for me. I'm here to share my toolbox with you because I'm hoping that some of these tools can go into your toolbox, not just for yourself, but perhaps if you choose to share these things with the people that you work with. If you're already an expert at this stuff, awesome. I hope this workshop will help you sharpen your tools. If you're just learning this stuff, awesome, you have a toolbox, and I hope that you keep putting tools in it. But like I said, I do these things because these are the things that work for me. I personally have a pretty extensive trauma background. I have a high ACE score, and I started getting traumatized as my nervous system was forming. So I personally am pretty hardwired to not trust anybody, to never feel safe, to never feel comfortable, and some of those things that you expect from a human with a high ACE score. Like a lot of us growing up, I made bad choices. I definitely tried to numb myself to cope with some of those traumas, and that didn't really work, as you guys already know. I also tried a lot of talk therapy, and talk therapy for me was re-traumatizing, and there's a lot of physical reasons that I understand why that is now, and I hope to share some of those physical reasons with you as well. But for me, I literally need to move things off of my body. So I started practicing yoga as it was recommended to me to try, and I find that by moving my body, I am able to release some of those traumatic experiences and literally heal my nervous system. I hope I'm not the only one who finds movement beneficial. I like to put motion to emotion. Besides that, I've been a professional body worker since 1999, which makes me wild old, but that's all right. Besides that, I did medical massage. I worked under a PT mentor for 5 years with a full medical team. I've worked with respiratory therapists, with neurologists, but that does not make me a doctor, right? So I'm going to try to share these things for you, but please don't confuse me with a medical expert. If I get something wrong, please feel free to mention that in the comments, because I do want to get this right. All right, so that's a little bit about me. Please notice this picture. Oh, go back for a second, Emily. All right, so I want to highlight this picture, not because it's a cool picture, because I don't care about that, but this is a yin yoga pose called cat pulling its tail pose. And that sounds fancy, but what I really hope to get you thinking about by looking at this pose is something I call brain integration. So let's start by talking about our hands, right? Our hands are some of the most intelligent places on our bodies. So your right hand thumb is the most intelligent place on your body. And by that, I mean your right hand thumb is wired to your brain through your spinal nerves and is always giving your brain information about the things that you're touching, the things that you're feeling, the things that you're doing. Your fingertips are so incredibly intelligent. They are constantly giving your brain information. Even right now, how cold is it in the room that you're in? Are your hands, are you holding something? Can you feel air moving around your fingertips? So hands, super, super, super intelligent. But you know what, so are feet. Feet have also a lot of wires, a lot of neurological connections to your brain, because they're always giving your brain information about balance, about pressure, about weight, about temperature. So by putting these two things together, by having your hands touch your feet, part of my brain that is responsible for understanding where my hands are, and the part of my brain that's responsible for understanding where my feet are, get to connect. And that brain integration can bring me from a place of future tripping and being blah, blah, blah somewhere else into having to be in the present moment, because that's weird. That biofeedback loop of my hands touching my feet is kind of a wild experience, even if I do this pose a lot. Not just are hands touching feet in this pose, but my right hand is touching my left foot. So again, that's another opportunity for my brain to integrate and to have a new experience. And not just is my right hand touching my left foot, but my left hand is touching my right foot. So these biofeedback loops, my hand reporting on what my foot is doing, my foot reporting on what my hand is doing on both sides, creates all kinds of brain integration, allowing me to be in this moment, not in some other thing, not thinking about the past, but really paying attention to my body in this moment, paying attention to my breath, paying attention to this opportunity to be alive right now. All right, go ahead and go to the next slide, please, Emily. Let's continue to talk about brain integration, right? We're gonna do something that you probably already do all the time, and I promise you're already really good at it. In yoga therapy terms, this is a gesture called Hakini Mudra, but again, you probably do this without even thinking about it. So go ahead and take your wildly intelligent hands. You're gonna curl your fingers just a little bit, go ahead and let your fingers all come together to touch one another at the tips. Now, obviously nothing magic is gonna happen, right? So forgive me if you're expecting something kind of crazy to happen, it's not. Take a few moments though, with your fingertips touching, to maybe relax your shoulders, to maybe kind of settle down here. And let's take a few moments to intellectually consider what's happening here. Intellectually, my right hand thumb is touching my left hand thumb and telling my brain about how my left hand thumb feels. But at the same time, my left hand thumb is telling my brain how my right hand thumb feels. And that same biofeedback loop is happening for each and every fingertip here. So as a yoga therapist, I want to say that my logical side is connecting with my creative side, and that might help with having ethical creativity. That might help create some mindfulness. That might help just kind of make a decision, you know, if the heart and the mind aren't harmonious. As a peer mentor though, this to me looks like coming back into the present moment. This to me looks like I'm just focusing on breathing and connecting with myself. And I think we all know that connection is the opposite of addiction. Hakini Mudra is simple. You can do it at any time. You probably do it all the time without ever thinking about it. And it's, again, a nice way to just come home into your body. Another type of brain integration is a technique I learned from my peer mentor teacher. Her name is Kelly Fitzpatrick. This I call head holding, probably has other names. But again, let's talk about anatomy really quickly first. You've got your old brain, right? Your limbic system brain, and that's back here at the base of your skull. And then you've also got your prefrontal cortex, your new, more modern brain, right? Your evolved brain, not just your survival brain. To integrate those two things, please go ahead and make a little cup shape with your hand, and go ahead and cup the back of your skull, letting your shoulders be as relaxed as possible. And remember, don't move into pain, right? If your shoulders aren't going to do this today, that's okay. You're going to take your other hand though, and go ahead and cup over your forehead and see if you can let your shoulders relax. Now here, even if we're just obeying our intention to create harmony between our survival brain and our evolved brain, that intention is incredibly powerful, right? And when you set an intention like that, your body is going to follow up on that, even if it's not instant or obvious. However, we also might consider here the biofeedback loops we're creating. Your right hand is literally holding your head. Your left hand is literally holding your head. This gives us a nice opportunity to just sort of be in this present moment. So please don't let me tell you how to feel. Please don't expect some sort of miracle. But if this is starting to help you be more present, thank you. I hope that this also ends up in your toolbox. To get out of this though, if and when you're ready, you're gonna go ahead and as you inhale, take a big stretch. Sometimes that makes your hands kind of crampy, right? So you can just shake them off, relax your shoulders, give yourself a few moments. The next brain integration that I want to share with you is really great to do if you get to work with kids, whether you're talking about like actual children or kind of the adult variety. Another great way to have brain integration. This one though, please be really careful because you don't want to move into pain and everybody's going to look different with this, right? So these are eagle hands, fancy yoga words that don't mean anything. Go ahead when you're ready and extend your arms out in front of you a little bit and make sure that your shoulders are comfortable behind you, right? So you're not overreaching here, but just reaching your arms out. From there, go ahead and cross your right elbow or so on top of your left. I don't care which right arm you use. From here, see if you can turn your palms to face one another. And this might be where you stop. And already this is a lot of brain integration. My right arm is on my left side. My left arm is on my right side. Like that's already pretty weird. If you can get weirder with it, see if you can interlace your fingers. You want to be able to do this without your shoulders getting cranky and without you having to clench your teeth. Again, this is wild, this is enough. This is your brain having to think about this in ways that perhaps you don't always have to. If you still have a little bit more flexibility here, you might do what we consider threading the needle. So that means bend your elbows. See if you can loop-de-loop your hand through. And again, you're not going to move into pain. I have an unreasonable amount of flexibility here, right? So please don't try to look like me if your body doesn't do this. But you can go this way and you can go that way. And again, if I'm doing this, I'm not future tripping. I'm not getting traumatized by the past. My brain is trying to figure out what is going on. Why are my fingers on the wrong side? Like, and what are they sending in terms of information to my brain? Like, there's just so much to notice about this, right? So once you've done that enough, you might decide that you want to switch sides. And again, that's going to be a whole new experience, especially because once your brain gets the hang of doing it on one side, the second side is going to be totally different. So there's another opportunity to have a totally new experience that hopefully is fun and brings you back into the present simply by doing some brain integration. And again, remember, you're not going to move into pain. You're not going to try to be a hero here today. When you're done with these exercises, take some space and shake it off. Give yourself a few moments to get nice and cozy in your skin. All right, next slide, please. Now that we've taken some time to unite the right and left hemispheres of the brain and to get some interesting connections, I hope, happening here, let's meet the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is also considered the wandering nerve, right? Because hundreds of years ago, when we were still trying to understand anatomy, and anatomists were like cutting away at the body, trying to understand how this nerve worked, it was everywhere. And it was incredibly confusing. But as you can see from the picture here of your vagus nerve, it is a cranial nerve, which means it has a direct connection into your brain. That means communication through this neural network is instant. And any dysfunction in this neural network is going to affect your mood and your health and more than just if you're having dysfunction in spinal nerve. But anyway, so your vagal nerve goes from that lizard, that limbic system, that lizard part of your brain, that old brain, and it works with the other cranial nerves that go into your eyes, into your ears, into your mouth. The vagal nerve goes down into your throat. It gets into your heart and your lungs and your stomach. And then from there, it wanders down into your intestines, all the way down into your bladder and even into your genitals. Now, please indulge me in a second. And why do all of these things need to be connected? Well, for survival, right? Back in the day, if you needed to evade a bad situation pretty quickly, you want your nervous system to kick in. You don't want to have to think about planning what to do to survive. Just like we don't think about our eyes dilating with light, just like we don't think about salivating when we're hungry, some things are automatic in the body. And that's really awesome. So all of these things being connected means that when it's time for these things to all work together and respond, they do. And that's a very wonderful thing. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, oh no, this slide's a little awkward. Sorry, guys. All right. Because the vagal nerve is a really long and intricate neural system, we tend to divide it into two different pieces. There's the ventral vagal part of the nerve, and then there's the dorsal vagal. Now, don't let those words be intimidating. Indulge me for a second and think about a dolphin, right? You got a nice dolphin. There's a dorsal fin on the top of the dolphin, right? That's the dorsal side. That's the back side of the dolphin's body. And we have a dorsal side too. The ventral side would be the belly side of the dolphin. And we also have a belly side. So when we're talking about the ventral vagal parts of our system, we're talking about kind of what happens in the front. And you can see from my posture, bam, this is ventral vagal. I'm in a ventral vagal state right now. This might look like your fight mode. As a yoga teacher, I might call this spinal extension. Well, maybe not as a yoga teacher, as a physical therapist, I'd call it that. But anyway, so here we are, we're open in the chest, we're ready to take action. We also can consider this to be in a social state. When I'm in a ventral vagal state, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to have good spirited debates. I am receptive to what's going on around me. I'm in a good mood most of the time, right? Ventral vagal. The opposite of ventral vagal is the dorsal vagal. So if you're in a dorsal vagal state like I am, like 90% of the time, that's being in a hidden sort of posture, right? That means the backside of my body is a little bit more open and exposed. That is more of a shutdown state. That means I am in flight or freeze mode, right? I can't fight right now. I need to protect myself. I'm going to protect my vital organs. I'm going to slow my heart rate down. I'm going to slow my breathing down. I'm going to not be digesting food at that moment. I'm going to not be thinking about sex in that moment. I'm going to be basically just shutting it down because if something bad happens to me, I don't necessarily want to be present for it. I might disassociate. For somebody who's in a chronic dorsal vagal state, you got depression, you've got a lot of fibromyalgia type systems, a lot of, symptoms, a lot of just trauma response. Not a great place for learning new things, not a great place for learning new friends. I just want to take a moment to consider here how many of our clients kind of live in that state, right? Sure, we've got our ventral vagal clients as they're coming back to life, but we also have our dorsal vagal clients here who kind of live in a state of spinal flexion, curling in on oneself. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so here's a little bit more about dorsal vagal and that kind of stuff. One thing that's important about this slide is to consider heart rate variability. And that's a term that means a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons. But in polyvagal theory, we're going to use heart rate variability to understand how long does it take me to go from a dorsal vagal shutdown state to a ventral vagal social state where I'm ready to learn, where I'm ready to interact, where I'm ready to have new experiences, right? So that amount of time it's just kind of a factor to help kind of put things into some perspective. It's one of those measurable things that we can look at. Another thing that's important between ventral vagal and dorsal vagal states is that these things are not good or bad. They're not right or wrong. Nobody's a bad person. We are all going to fluctuate through these different states because humans, we do human stuff, right? It's totally normal to be open and ready for business, and then something happens and you shut down, maybe not as dramatically as like life-saving fight or flight, but you know, somebody doesn't agree with you, it's normal to kind of go dorsal vagal for a little bit. But again, with good heart rate variability, you're going to be able to come out of that state rather quickly. Next slide, please. All right, let's talk about the baby zebra. So in yoga therapy circles, when we're describing the polyvagal theory and things like that, usually the zebra analogy comes up. It's not my idea, but I'm going to go with it because those are my people. So here we got a baby zebra, and it's just hanging out doing baby zebra stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, the baby zebra senses there's a hungry lion. And that hungry lion sees that baby zebra and is like, oh, that looks delicious. So what happens? Without thinking about it, right? Thank goodness, the baby zebra is going to go into a dorsal vagal shutdown state. That baby zebra is going to not be taking big, full, deep breaths. That baby zebra is not going to with their heart, right? Because they're not going to fight that lion. That's a losing battle. That baby zebra is not digesting food. That baby zebra, its bladders and bowels might empty because the vagal nerve's not holding those things constricted. That baby zebra might even start to disassociate because, again, nobody wants to feel what it would feel like to be dinner, right? Luckily, though, this movement, this instinct to play dead is actually a life-saving tactic for baby zebra because lions aren't scavengers. They don't want to eat something that looks already dead or that is already dead. So Mr. Hungry Lion is like, oh, I thought that baby zebra was dinner. It looks like it's already dead. I'm going to go find something that I can hunt because that's more fun for me. So Mr. Lion moves along, finds something else to eat. And what happens to baby zebra? Once baby zebra's nervous system and all of its intelligence recognizes that it was not dinner, baby zebra is going to get up, and baby zebra is going to shake it off and go about its day, right? Baby zebra is not holding on to that experience. Baby zebra is not taking that personal. Baby zebra is not even afraid of the next time it encounters a lion. Shakes it off, moves along, and that is the story of our baby zebra as for right now. Next slide, please, Emily. So who cares, right? Who cares about baby zebra? Well, as I mentioned already, if you think about the ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, we know that some people don't just have that one experience with the lion. Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris in her, what I hope is a TED Talk you've seen, talks about the bear, right? So pardon my mixed animal metaphors here, but in pure mentor land anyway, I'm gonna switch from the lion to the bear, right? If you are somebody like Dr. Burke-Harris says, who lives with a bear, or perhaps has been a bear, you know that that experience of trauma, of going into dorsal vagal shutdown state, isn't something that happens once. That might be something that happens every day. That might be something that happens all the time. Or like me, from that, you might get that sort of uncomfortable empathy of walking into a room and being like, okay, there's full of bears. What do I need to do to survive in this room right now? And that can be really hard on a person's body. Not just because having those stress hormones in your system all the time will really wear down our muscles, our joints, and kind of create some of that fibromyalgia, joint and nerve pain, but because it's emotionally exhausting. And it's, you guys don't need me to lecture you about all of that kind of stuff. The point here is that when we're working with people who live with bears or who have been bears, it's really important for us to be able to model for those people that, hey, you don't have to live with bears. You can be the baby zebra. You can learn slowly how to bring the nervous system back into a normal state, fluctuating between dorsal vagal and ventral vagal, rather than just being totally shut down. And by doing this, we offer hope. And again, I know that y'all do that every day, and I thank you so much for it. But by having some of this awareness of like, oh, here's a bear, perhaps we can take a step back and think, well, wait a minute. Is that bear really scary? Do I really need to buy into that bear? Anyway, we'll keep working on it. Next slide, please.
Real quick, we did have a question, Jennifer, in regards to the dorsal state.
Yeah, please.
Are there two states related to dorsal, one for fight and one shutdown for flight or freeze?
You know, that's a really great question. And I wish I knew more about neurology specifically to be able to identify how those things are specifically different. But I do know that the habit, like if you're responding to stress in a normal and appropriate way, and it's not an everyday activity for you, you're going to have better regulation with it. You might not need to go all the way from a ventral vagal state all the way down to a dorsal vagal shutdown state. But for those people who are living with the bear or who are the bear themselves, it's that much faster. We kind of already know what to expect from a situation. So with very little, what's the word I'm looking for? With very little stimulus, it's possible to go all the way into a dorsal vagal shutdown state just because we're so exhausted, just because we expect that that's what it's going to require. And it might not actually require that. So that's not personal. That's not something that anybody does wrong. It's just habit. And our bodies like to work in habits because then we don't have to think about moving our feet or what our hands are telling us. We can just be. So yeah, the relationship between those states, I think is in flux all the time. And again, normal and human. But like anything, we can kind of exercise to bring ourselves back into a more centered place. And I'm sorry, I can't speak more to the specific science of that, but I know that that specific science is out there. Any other questions, I hope?
I think one follow-up question, but the dorsal state does activate fight too.
The fight is a ventral vagal state, right? So for me as somebody who teaches yoga, right, I do something called cat and cow, and I'll show from the side just because, right? So here I'm in something that's called spinal extension. My chest is open. I'm super proud. It's like, come at me, bro, right? Like I'm ready. That can be considered a fight state, but this can also be considered a friendly state, right? Depending on the stimulus. The opposite of that is spinal flexion, or I think what they call cat pose. I always get them confused. It doesn't matter. But here your spine is rounded and you're folding in on yourself. And this is more of a dorsal vagal state. So if you're going to be elevated in this way, you're opening up that front side of your body, that ventral side of your body, so that the nerve is going to be sending signals from the lower part up, because you're going to fight that bear, you know, or you're going to give that bear a big hug and turn that bear back into a normal thing. I don't know. But the point is that no, those two states are different. You've got your flight freeze state, and then you've got your ventral vagal, your fight state. I hope that made more sense. Yeah. Okay. So let me, excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of water. So important to recognize here that life moves towards life, right? We are life. Our work is life-giving. Our life is hope-producing. We want to help other people embody what it is to be alive and not in a fear state and not in a shutdown state. I hope that we can continue to do this work to elevate people, to help them continue to grow and prosper. And of course, for us to do that, to inspire others to do that, we have to take care of ourselves. You all know you put on your oxygen mask first before you go and you help other people. And the helping of other people can be exhausting. The helping of other people means that you might be in a totally ready to go kind of state, and then something sad happens to somebody else, and you take that on yourself, because we are empathetic, we are compassionate people. And when we experience those kinds of transferences, when we experience our own resurfacing of our own issues, our own business, it's important that we are able to then model what it means to take a pause and reorganize our nervous systems, so that again, we can continue to embody that and model that for other people who need to do it. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and start to move into a little bit more of a movement part of our program this morning. Next slide, please. Yes. Oh, again, a wonky slide. I apologize, you guys. We're going to do something called basic exercise. I did not invent basic exercise. This is an exercise that I learned by reading Dr. Stanley Rosenberg. I don't know if he's actually a doctor. I think of him as a doctor, but in any case, Stanley Rosenberg, he contributes a lot to Polyvagal Theory, and he's the body worker out in Europe. Some basic takeaways from basic exercises is that this can be done anywhere at any time. It's weird looking, but whatever. It is safe and gentle and effective. So we're going to start basic exercise by revisiting something we did a little bit ago. I asked you earlier to take a cupped hand and to kind of cup the back of your skull, where that limbic system, that cerebellum, that old part of your brain is, right? So again, I'm going to try to show from the side. If you're cupping down here, take a few moments to kind of just relax your shoulder for a second and get a sense of that. Now with your eyes open, go ahead and wiggle your eyes from side to side. I want you to notice if you can feel movement underneath your hand here, right? It's kind of wild for most of us, for some of us, that moving your eyes creates movement and the base of your skull. And that has a lot to do with cranial nerves and the muscles that hold your head up and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter. But because for most of us anyway, you can feel some movement back here, these exercises are effective. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. All right. So again, I want to remind you, thank you so much for playing along. Thank you for being a good sport. If this seems weird and you prefer to turn your camera off, please do. Don't ever move into pain. And if you don't really feel like physically participating, please kind of meditate about it. Think about the movements and that'll count too. All right, so if you're ready to play, thank you. I know it takes courage. You're gonna go ahead and interlace your fingers. Okay. So with interlaced fingers, again, remember, integration, right? Already it's happening. You're gonna take your integrated fingers and bring them to the back of your skull. Not where your hands just were exactly, but kind of here in that thicker part of your skull. And think about letting the weight of your head kind of relax into your hands, and think about letting your hands relax against the back of your head a little bit. Now, again, if this is hurting your shoulders, please don't do it. If you do have some shoulder issues, you can be successful here with just one hand. I'll take it. But wherever you are here is perfect and enough. That being said, go ahead and let your eyes sort of gaze out in front of you. So maybe you're looking at your computer screen, maybe you're looking beyond your computer screen. Just take a few moments to notice what you really see with your eyes. Now, real simple like, you're just gonna go ahead and move your eyes, just your eyes, to the right. And with your eyes over in the right corners, take a few moments to just breathe and relax. I know breathe and relax sounds like terrifying, right? So please truly just try to soften here. Doesn't matter the rhythm of your breath. Just kind of hold in the back of your head, looking off to the right. Hopefully not straining your eyes, because you don't have to be the exorcist here. Just look in, noticing what's over here. And at some point, usually about 8 to 12 breaths, you're gonna sigh, or maybe swallow, or I don't know, just kind of feel a pressure change. Maybe you get that urgency like you're just done. And when that happens, you're gonna recenter your eyes and take a moment. Now, when you recenter your eyes, you might feel like whoosh, a little psychedelic. That's totally normal, don't take it personal. However, when you're ready to go the other way, eyeballs are gonna move over to the left. And again, please don't strain your eyes. Please don't work too hard. You're just kind of glancing. And of course, your vision might be blurry, it doesn't matter. Keep your eyes open. Keep stretching some of the muscles, some of the nerves. Breathe in and relaxing. Now, of course, we're all gonna be at a different rhythm here, right? So I'm gonna keep talking, but if you're not done working, please keep going. Eventually, we're all gonna end up with eyes facing forward. And I strongly suggest taking a stretch that feels good here when you are done, blinking your eyes, and taking a few moments to maybe roll shoulders, and maybe just breathe and relax. Now, the science behind basic exercise, again, is sort of utilizing the way that our nerves and our muscles work together to create more space. And then when we have space, not only are our nerves getting more positive information to the brain, but we're more in the present moment in here, right? All right, let's go ahead and go to our next exercise. Pretty soon after these exercises, everybody, we're gonna have a break, so hang in there. All right. Again, another wonky slide, I apologize about that, but all right, Salamander Exercises. This is another of Stanley Rosenberg's exercises. Again, it's safe, gentle, and effective. You're never gonna move into pain. Nobody's gonna work too hard here, but within this exercise, you're gonna get into different parts of your neck and make space for different nerves, and that's why it's important. So take a few moments, please. Roll your shoulders, so let your shoulders be down and back behind you, to be, you know, a little arrogant here if you can, because why not, right? And that being said, you're gonna once again gaze forward with your eyes, just right in front of you. And now, when you're ready, you're gonna move your eyes over to the right. All right, we've done this before. And here's where it gets fun. You're gonna move your right ear towards your right shoulder, and please don't let those things touch. That can be hard, right? Because our ego mind wants to bring those things together for some reason. So please try to fight the urge to connect your ear and your shoulder. Try to fight the urge to recenter your eyes. We're gonna keep eyes looking towards the right corners. And again, the goal here is to just breathe 8 times, 12 times, 20 times, however long it takes, until you swallow or yawn, or just feel like you're ready to be done. I like this exercise because gravity is doing some work here, right? It's totally different than cranking on your neck and trying to give yourself a chiropractic adjustment. It's not about that right now. And again, everybody's going to be different here, but when you feel motivated to get out of this, think about pushing the top of your head up towards the ceiling and then recenter your eyes and give yourself a few more moments now to just notice, right? Don't take it personal. There's no power or meaning. Just kind of notice. And if and when you're ready to change sides, I hope you do for balance. You're going to go ahead and start by looking over to the left. And then left ear is going to move towards left shoulder. And again, please resist the urge to connect those two things. Please don't hold your breath. Don't overthink this. If anything, let gravity do some work here, right? It's nice to make gravity work for us for a change. Some other fun things. This might be totally different than your first side. Not personal. No power or meaning in that. Just whatever. Of course, when and if you're ready to be done with this, once again, push the top of your head up towards the ceiling and recenter your eyes. Give yourself a few moments. If you're compelled to do some wiggles or some stretches, please go ahead and roll your shoulders. Feel free to take some neck rolls. Shake it out if that feels good. Please trust your body to make good choices here. Your body is incredibly intelligent. A lot of our brain-body connection is 80% body, to tell you the truth, right? So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. I think that's the remainder of how to do this exercise, please. Awesome. All right. Finishing up this little sequence of eye and neck movements, we're going to do something similar, but again, something a little different. So from this perspective here, go ahead and start at the beginning. You're going to roll your shoulders, get kind of arrogant here with your posture because why not, right? Your chin up off of your throat. So here, you're going to go ahead and let your eyes look over to the left. At this point, I think you're an expert at this probably, right? So you're looking over to the left, not working too hard. Now move your right ear towards your right shoulder. I hope this is, again, a totally different experience than what you've been experiencing up to this point. It might be, and it might not be, right? But I appreciate you doing something new, something weird. Again, if your instinct is to hold your breath, please breathe. If you're clenching your teeth right now, if you're squeezing your glutes, see if you can relax that. Again, maybe it's 8 breath cycles, maybe it's 20 breath cycles, maybe it's 4 minutes, however long it takes. When you're ready to get out of this, you're going to push the top of your head towards the ceiling and recenter your eyes. And again, give yourself a few moments to just chill out. It might feel like your blood pressure is getting kind of wonky. It might feel like you've got all of this blood behind your eyes. Just remember, you are home, you are safe. And when we balance with our last side, it'll all be all right. So that being said, when you're ready, I start looking forward. Go ahead and look over to the right. Now go ahead and bring your left ear towards your left shoulder. You're going to just take a few moments here to breathe in the left. Now, the first 200 times that you do this, it might be super duper weird every time. And you know what? That's a good thing. Once you get used to this, it's still effective. But it's the fact that this is weird that makes it therapeutic, right? Or one of the factors that makes it very therapeutic. Very rarely are we holding ourselves in this position as we're going about our day-to-day lives. So that means your brain is getting information from nerves, but in a different way than it always does. So if you're having pain, if you're having suffering, you're getting a new signal. You might be able to override some of that old signaling. But anyway, when you're ready to get out of this, you're gonna push the top of your head to the ceiling and again, recenter your eyes. Please listen to what your body needs in this moment. You might need some shoulder rolls. You might need a big yawn. You might need some big stretches, right? You might be perfect as you are. And if you're perfect as you are, stay perfect, right? But please don't hold back from moving your body around, right? Give yourself the opportunity to regroup and reorganize from that. Okay. So I mentioned a little bit why these salamander exercises are helpful, why basic exercise is helpful. And so not only are you making some space, but we're kind of getting into a muscle that you don't need to remember, but it's a muscle here in your neck. It's called sternocleidomastoid. And sternocleidomastoid is one of the few muscles of the body, there's only two actually, that have a direct connection to your brain. There is a cranial nerve that goes in there. So you can imagine, right, whenever you're stressed out, sternocleidomastoid is one of those few muscles that activates, right? And you don't want to get stuck in that activation. You want to be able to move your head around. You want to be able to see what's going on around you. That's going to help bring you back into that ventral vagal social state. Anyway, let's go to the next slide, please. All right. We've got just a couple more exercises here. So that being said, your trapezius muscle is another muscle that has, or the other muscle that has a direct connection to your brain. So your traps, right? Those muscles go from the back of your skull kind of out to your shoulder blades and then into the middle of your back. And because of that trapezoid shape, they've got muscle fibers that go in 3 different directions. Your traps, you'll notice, again, when you're angry, when you're cold, you know, they're always in a tense state. If you're in a chronic dorsal vagal state like I am, you can see in this posture how overstretched that muscle is going to be and how that overstretching of the muscle is going to constantly be sending a signal of suffering to my brain. So even if I'm not actually sad, even if I don't have a reason to be in a shutdown state, my posture is going to put me in a shutdown state. Those two things kind of work together, and we'll talk about that more later. But there are some simple things that we can do to love on the traps. So if and when you're ready, please go ahead, roll your shoulders. Try to find a comfortable posture here. And we're going to do something called rock the baby. So you're going to grab opposite elbows here and let your arms kind of hang down by your body. I hope you can kind of see here. To rock the baby, we're not going to be aggressive. We're not going to move into pain. You're going to just rock 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and then come back to the middle, right? Nothing aggressive. Okay, let me come back up a little bit. All right, so is that better? 1, 2, 3, 3, and back to the middle. Awesome, thank you so much for that feedback. All right, so from down here, our next level is at shoulder height. So I think I can go back to where I was. From shoulder height, once again, rock your baby. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. All right, so that was where your middle traps. Let's go ahead and take it all the way up. If you can, don't move into pain. Your arms are going to come up as much as they do, and then you're going to rock your baby. 3, and then come back to center. And then go ahead and relax your arms down. So easy, you just move blood and energy through the whole muscle, through all the muscle fibers. And because you did something that's probably a little weird, again, you get to override the signals of tension and chronic anger or whatever it is that might be stuck in your muscles. And you get to have a new sensation, perhaps a more relaxed sensation, perhaps a more spacious sensation. But in any of the case, thank you so much for doing something new. I know it takes courage. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. This awkward self-hug is something that I've been teaching for people who work at computers at least for 10 years now. And again, I hope that this is truly a tool that serves you and that you put in your toolbox. It's really weird though, and it's weird on purpose. So let's do it. Now that I've scared everybody. All right, so go ahead with your shoulders down and relax behind you in a tall spine. reach your arms out from shoulder height, and you're gonna make a number one. Number one. So from here, with your arms reaching out, go ahead and turn your head and look at your fingernail, and then look at your fingernail, and look at your fingernail, right? So what we're trying to do here is notice if your chin just turns from side to side, or if you have to make a lot of peaks and valleys to turn your head, right? That's not personal. But if you do have to do all these crazy things with your chin, that's a lot of work, right? I don't want to do that much work. I'm lazy. So once you've checked it out though, you're going to go ahead and bring, let's say, your right elbow on top of your left and give yourself a hug. And again, your elbows might not do this, right? So if you're just thinking about this work, that's enough, right? From here though is where it gets weird or weirder. Not choking yourself, not working too hard. You're going to let your ear go towards your shoulder. Now point your shoulders in the opposite direction of your ear. I don't care which side you start on. When you're ready to, you're going to go ahead and come back to center. And then we're going to switch sides. So ear goes the other way, and then elbows go the other way there. And then come back to the middle. Okay. We're going to do that one more time to each side. So only 2 rounds of this. Like, exhale into your awkward self-hug. Ear and elbows going opposite directions, and then back to center. Awkward self-hug, and back to center. Nice job. Let's inhale. And this is going to be super weird. Please bring your left elbow on top, and again, give yourself a hug. Okay. Now, okay, this might not be super weird, but chances are your brain is already trying to expect what to do. We've already done this on the right side, so now having your left arm on top is going to feel strange. And you might even be like, wait a minute, did I just do this arm? And those kinds of responses are totally normal and what we're trying to work with here. So that being said, let's do the same thing we just did. Ear's going to go one way. Elbows are going to point in the opposite direction. This might be a totally different experience. It doesn't matter at all. You're going to go ahead and come back to the middle. Nice job. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Again, awkward self-hug. Not necessarily big movements, right? But then back to center. One more time each way, awkward self-hug, and then back to center. Good, awkward self-hug, and then back to center. And then to complete this, we're gonna inhale, and once again, open arms wide and make that number 1, right? Not only are you number 1, but you're gonna once again turn your head, and I hope that this is a little bit easier. Please do not let me tell you how to feel, right? But if it's a little bit easier to move your head, please consider that you just made space, not just for cranial nerves, but you've changed the sensation of chronically being tense and tight in your upper traps to being a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more open. And for computer workers especially, it's nice to reset your shoulders every once in a while. You can do awkward self-hug every hour, but only do 2 reps of it, because after 2 reps, your brain starts to think of this as like a muscle building exercise and it loses its therapeutic value. So, all right, let's go ahead and do one more of these and then we'll do some breathing exercises. So, trapezius muscle is really important for posture, right? So now that we've done some work to like loosen up there, everybody, please take your super person pose. And if you didn't know you have a super pose, now you do. Put it in your toolbox. So super person pose means that you're going to go ahead and put your hands on your hips with your shoulders rolled down and back behind you. And just like that, you are your super person self, right? Now remember, my posture is going to inform my mood, just like my mood informs my posture. Those 2 things are working together. So here in super person pose, even if you do not feel confident, I promise you look confident, right? So go ahead and be arrogant about it. Yeah, you keep your chin up, you keep your shoulders back, and go ahead and look the part because you can. All right. Now I learned from a respiratory therapist that being in super person pose is actually anxiety reducing, not just because you look cool, but because look at how open your chest is, right? And not closing in on myself. My bones aren't squishing my lungs, so I can't take a deep breath in. Here, I'm embodying a ventral vagal state with a proud open chest that I can now fill with all kinds of oxygen. When we're in an anxiety situation, we're not breathing. And when we're not breathing, we're in an anxiety situation. This is the opposite of that. This is going to shut down that anxiety right away, even if you like having anxiety, right? To make this even better, go ahead and take breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, see if you can breathe out like you're making an O with your mouth. Breathing in through your nose. Out through your mouth, right? So again, my respiratory therapist teachers taught me that for people, especially with COPD, for people just quitting smoking, it can be really challenging to change the gas in their lungs, right? You know, you breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide. That O shape is going to really get some of that old carbon dioxide out just because of the way the nervous system understands that breath, right? If any of you are runners, I'm sure you've had the experience where you're running, you're overheating. You start breathing out through an open mouth. It cools the body down. So combining these two things is a not just super person, awesome, confident pose, but a great way to thwart some of that anxiety that might cause a person to want to close in on themselves. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. These are our last couple exercises before we take a break. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. You're learning a lot of stuff. Do we have any questions though before we start doing more breathing? Beautiful. All right. So as a yoga instructor for 10 years, 11 years now, I've noticed typically when I'm out in the general public, when I'm like, okay, we're gonna breathe and relax, that's like the most terrifying thing for people to imagine, but seriously, you're breathing, you're really good at it. You've been doing it your whole life, you're doing it now, like please don't overthink it. You're gonna just keep doing what works for you as best as you can, right? So that being said, part of yoga is to combine breath and movement. Part of yoga is to try to combine that mind-body connection, increase mindfulness. But for me, as a peer mentor, I'm really trying to use what I learned from yoga to help create that ventral vagal state for people who might chronically be withdrawing in that dorsal vagal shutdown state. So these are some Tai Chi exercises or other types of breathing exercises that I use quite a lot just to kind of help do something different than the way that we've been breathing for our whole lives. So the first breath I want to share with you is what I call up and away breath. If you're a Tai Chi teacher, you probably have a different name for this, and that's fine. I am not a Tai Chi teacher, but I do steal. So that being said, you're going to go ahead and let your hands kind of hold like a base. And if I'm standing, this is going to look a little bit different. For our purposes today, I'd like you to go ahead and as you inhale, pull your breath up a little bit here. And as you exhale, go ahead and give yourself a nice slouch, a stretch. And then when you're ready to breathe in again, pull up, exhale, push away, right? Inhale, pulling up. So the yoga teacher in me wants to say, as you inhale, pull energy up from the ground, and as you exhale, move any negative self-talk off of your body. The peer mentor in me says, as you're inhaling, notice how grounded you are, even if you're sitting. And as you exhale, get all that old carbon dioxide out. Make space for new life, for new breath, for new opportunity. All right. So yeah, on this slide, I say maybe you're pulling up peace and pushing away drama, right? Those are really important ways that you can kind of recenter yourself. And again, just come back into this present moment. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you so much. The next movement I'd like to make is something I call painting your fence, right? So from your grounded, comfortable place, right, with your shoulders relaxed and your awesomeness, you're gonna go ahead and start with your palms facing behind you with your arms alongside your body. I hope you guys can see that okay. When you're ready, working as hard or not hard as you want, right? You're gonna inhale and let your arms come out in front of you. And they might come up to shoulder height. They might go all the way up and you might be the best Olympic champion ever. It's up to you. But as you exhale, and again, I'm exaggerating. I'm breathing out through an open mouth. You don't have to. But as you inhale, arms are going to come up as much as feels good. And then as you exhale, arms are going to lower down. So again, as an energetic person, right, because you're made out of matter and energy, you might be thinking about pulling energy up from the ground, bringing it all the way up to the top of your head. And then as you exhale, pushing any old energy out through your feet and back into the ground. So we'll do maybe 2 or 3 more of these if you're enjoying them. And remember, if you're working this hard or not hard here, this feels good to you in this moment. All right. Now, truly, our last exercise here before we get a little bit of a break is something called grounding breath. And again, if you're a Tai Chi teacher, you might have a different name for this. I do apologize for appropriating, but I'm not sorry because this is an incredible tool. So that being said, again, from a comfortable and grounded place, give yourself a few moments to roll your shoulders, to let yourself kind of loosen up a little bit, all that good stuff. And then from here, we're gonna now take our arms open wide, right? So when you're ready to inhale, go ahead and reach your arms up, 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 up towards the ceiling. And this is the hard part. You're gonna look up at the space in between your hands, right? So looking up at the space in between your hands, actually watch your hands as they lower down in front of your body, sort of like leaves falling, right? And hopefully this isn't hard because gravity is gonna be pushing your hands down. So you kind of just have to let gravity do gravity stuff. But when you're ready, once again, you're gonna sweep your arms up, and I don't care if you're breathing fast or slow, see if you can actually look at your body. So sometimes I will do this with my clients to see how long can they actually focus on themselves. How long can you actually focus on yourself before you get distracted thinking about something else? That's a really important data point to have. That's not good or bad. That's not right or wrong. But remember, you got to take care of yourself first, right? And you got to see your body moving through time and space. This is also another excellent opportunity to create some brain integration because you're feeling with your hands moving through space and you're seeing that happen with your eyes. And you're taking that time to kind of coordinate between what you're experiencing and what you think you're experiencing. And with that, I want to give an opportunity for any questions, any thoughts. Are we good?
No questions so far, just lots of good comments in the chat. Would you suggest these exercises for someone who is overly focused on their body sensations, like health anxiety and a tendency to fixate on physical sensations?
So I really appreciate that question a lot, and thank you so much. That's such a thoughtful question. What I want to focus on is recognizing the actual sensations and not the story or the context of the sensations necessarily, right? So as I'm watching my hand, I want to be focusing on what is the temperature in the room. Like, is there tension in my shoulder? Am I clenching my teeth? Am I squeezing my glutes? I don't want to be focused on, oh my God, I got to paint my nails, or oh, look how dry my skin is. That story is all old brain, right? But by focusing on what's actually physically happening as you're watching your hands move, that helps to bring you back into the present moment. That's a Cbt skill, right? So just kind of reframing the experience to temperature, texture, pressure, some of those words that are like quantifiable, like if you were testifying in a court of law, not the story behind that kind of stuff, and retraining a brain to focus on the actual sensation in the moment and not the story or the context or the history or the expectation of the sensation. That is incredibly challenging. And honestly, that's some of the hardest yoga that I know how to teach, right? Because we all have our stories, we all have our patterns, we all have our history. So people who have a lot of body awareness to reshift to actually being able to see might be beyond the scope of our practice, honestly, as peer mentors, but it is interesting data to consider for our clients, right? To notice how they think. And that's, again, a really difficult skill to teach or to work with. So thank you for that question. I hope I answered that to the best of my ability and my skill. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. You guys probably need a break, right? This is a lot of stuff. So let's go ahead and we get 10, right, Emily? Mm-hmm. Thank you for sticking with it. You guys are troopers. And awesome.
All right. Is the next
all right, 10, 15. Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's not real life. But the present moment is at least what's in front of us. And by being clear about what's actually in front of me, then I can actually make a better informed choice. Then I can actually decide, well, wait a minute, is this actually a bear or do I just think this is a bear, right? And it's important to be able to make that distinction, because if I just allow my nervous system to continue to run my life, you're all bears and I get nothing done. And that's okay. But at the same time, you're not all bears. All of you guys are out in the world doing incredible work. And it's important sometimes to take a moment to recognize, like, no, I'm safe. I'm okay. Even if my wiring is hardwired for me to not feel that way. The more work I can do to override that programming, the safer and safer I become. And this is something I've been working personally on for 30 years. And it's a forever practice. I'm never going to not have to do this work, but at least I can do this work. Because it's worth it to do this work for me. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about the baby zebra again. All right, so there's our little zebra, super cute, right? So when we think about our baby zebra, what did the baby zebra do after realizing that it was actually safe, right? Baby zebra got up and baby zebra shook it off, right? And baby zebra did that for a couple important neurological reasons. When baby zebra went into dorsal vagal shutdown state, cortisol flooded baby zebra's system and really helped put baby zebra in a position where they wouldn't experience like pain and suffering if actually attacked. Baby zebras got to get that out of their muscles, out of their skin, out of their bodies in order to be able to move on. But for those of us who live with the bear, we're always flooded with cortisol, and that's some of those fibromyalgia situations, right? And I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody or speak to something with absolute authority. But common sense is such that when you're constantly flooded with stress hormones, it's going to wear down your muscles. It's going to wear down your nerves. It's going to wear down your body. So to get that cortisol out, we don't have to do anything fancy. We don't have to do anything, super crazy. We just got to do it. So for our next round of business, we're going to practice shaking it out, basically. And again, if you feel silly about this, that's okay. I don't want you to perform or do anything uncomfortable. You're welcome to turn your camera off. But please, even if you're sitting, you can shake it out, right? And I hope that you'll indulge in doing so, especially if you're still feeling kind of sleepy. Before we get into it, though, let me just remind you that your thoughts are truly powerful, right? So if you set the intention that this isn't going to work for you and this is silly, well, yeah, it's not going to work for you and it's silly. But if you think like, well, maybe it'll work, then you're giving it an opportunity to work. So, you are the master of your own thoughts, and I trust you to make good choices. So that being said, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you so much. All right. So what I'd like to do here is just practice a seated shaking it off. And you guys have seen me do this already now a bunch of times, right? So go ahead, and if you're sitting, be comfortably seated. If you're standing, notice that you're grounded on both feet, right? Make sure that you've got good balance with this. You're not gonna move into pain. Again, you're not gonna do anything that hurts. Take your time. You're the only one you need to please. So that being said, go ahead and get your wrist out in front of you and imagine your hands are wet. You wanna get that water off your hands, like, water, get off my hands, right? And you can also go the other way too, like getting water off your hands this way. And like, that can be enough, but you can also kind of get your elbows involved a little bit. And so now you're kind of doing a weird funky chicken. And I told you it was gonna look silly, but if I can do it, right? Anyway, so once you're doing the funky chicken, you might get your shoulders involved a little bit. And if your shoulders get involved a little bit, you might have to get your head and neck involved a little bit, and then got hair flying all over the place. And I hope that it feels so relieving to just kind of get that pressure off your body, right? But we don't have too much time, so we're going to start to slow it down and come back to a center place. And once you've kind of shaken it off, give yourself a few moments to notice sensations in your body, right? And again, that's not the story you tell yourself. That's, do I feel movement? Do I feel heat? Do I feel pressure? Do I feel relief? Some of those more tangible words. And just give yourself a few moments to absorb that. Some things that might be nice to do if you get the privilege of shaking it off with a client at some point, and I hope you all do because it's super fun. But that being said, it might be nice to take a grounding breath afterwards to just kind of come back home into the middle of your body. Or some of your other grounding breaths. You guys have 3 now at least in your toolbox. There's also the shaking it off of the lower body. And again, if you're seated, this might be a little bit easier. If you're standing, you might want to lean up against something, but the same sort of thing, right? So if I kick my feet up in the air, I'm going to start by trying to get the water off of my ankles, right? And then I might have to get my knees involved a little bit. And then I might have to get my hips a little bit involved. And then pretty soon I'm doing a full wiggle twist, right? And I don't have a good camera angle to really show you all what that looks like, but please don't forget your lower body is important too. And all of the stressors that it takes to keep you grounded, to keep you moving, to keep you effective in that way, right? So giving yourself a few moments, if you don't mind, shake and wiggle your lower body, however you might be in this moment. The more random, the better. Right? And if it's hard to get out of thinking about moving, you might decide to like write the alphabet with your ankle or write yourself a love poem because you're worth it. Anything that you can do to just break a repetitive cycle of circles. Because again, you want to try to do something that you don't always do. You want to try to create a new experience so that you get to be present in the moment and not just doing something out of memory or habit so your mind can wander onto some other kind of thing. Shaking is an actual thing in Qigong, and Qigong is a very ancient martial art, and I'm not a Qigong teacher, and I don't think we have time to practice this, but Qigong looks a lot like bouncing, right? So I would suggest if you're standing to just give your knees a little bend and just kind of bounce a little bit. And in the process of bouncing a little bit, it's kind of like dancing, actually, right? And a Qigong teacher, I think, would disagree. But if you're just kind of bouncing, you're kind of just moving, again, not overthinking it, not trying to use control over it, just giving yourself the opportunity to shake it off. Pretty soon, you might be doing a full-on hippie dance, which is awesome. Because again, the idea is to move cortisol out of your body. The idea is to shake it off without fear, without judgment, without attachment. So please, I hope everybody gets the opportunity to do that, whether in yoga class, whether in Zumba class, whether you're actually doing Qigong, or maybe we can all go to music festivals at some point again in the future. Please, please, please shake it off every once in a while. You don't have to hold stress in your body unless you really want to. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part. All right. So I just want to review some CBT skills. And again, we don't have too much time, unfortunately, but remember to come back into the present moment, you can really rely on your 5 senses, right? So you can come into the present moment and help clients come into the present moment by looking at 5 things that you can actually see, right? And not the stories about those things, not your attitudes about those things, but what those things actually are. And once you've identified 5 things, notice things that you can actually touch. And perhaps notice what they actually feel like if you touch them, including yourself, right? Notice 3 things that you can hear. And it doesn't matter where the sounds are coming from that you're listening to. Listen to the rhythm, listen to the volume, listen to the qualities of the sound. It's going to help you come back into the present moment. Notice 2 things you can smell, right? Remember, your sense of smell is huge in your brain. And all of these different senses work with the vagal nerve to bring you out of being shut down and sullen and back into a place where you might be able to experience being alive. Finally, everybody has a taste in their mouth, right? Right now, mine tastes like coffee. It doesn't have to be a good taste, right? But whatever it is, take a moment to notice that. And it's not personal. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just something to bring you from future tripping back into this moment. And it can also help us sort of regulate the people that we're with to ask them, what can you touch right now? What can you see right now? What can you feel right now? So another simple tool for your toolbox. Let's go ahead and get into the next slide. All right. So I wanted to finish off here by talking about the 12 principles of growth. I did not write these 12 principles of growth. These were written by another yoga therapist named Joanne Spence in a book that you can find in the citations. But a lot of times, at least in my experience as a peer mentor, people are like, okay, I'm sober. I'm on my meds. What do I do now? And so I look to these principles to kind of say like, well, you're going to continue to grow onward or upward. But if you don't have context for that, if you haven't seen that modeled elsewhere in your life, and we as peer mentors are the people modeling that, it's kind of hard, right, to be that image. And so there are 12 stages in that growth cycle. And we're not going to have time to actually practice all of these. So I kind of just want to give you a quick summary of them and a way to apply them, right? So here in the 12 principles of growth, depending on where your people are and where you are, these are sort of positive affirmations. And when working with positive affirmations, it's kind of nice to breathe in the affirmation. And then as you exhale, let go of any negative self-talk about that affirmation, because there's always going to be negative self-talk about things, right? And it's kind of nice to think like, well, wait a minute, where did that voice come from? Is that my voice? Is that somebody else's voice? Can I let that voice go? Because chances are that's not your voice, right? So the first positive affirmation here is an empowering one, right? Just recognizing I can. Because a lot of our clients in a dorsal vagal shutdown state don't know that they can. They've never had the opportunity to, right? So by breathing in, I can, exhale, any excuse that tries to tell me I can't. And, you know, we might spend years just on I can, and that's fine. It's enough. If you've moved past I can, then consider your worth. I'm worth the effort. And again, if you say that to yourself and your instinct is like, no, I'm not, that's okay. But whatever's trying to tell you that you're not worth the effort, it gets out. It goes out of your body. You don't even have to try, just breathe it out. Let's go on to the next one. Please, my friend, awesome. Okay. Once we know that we can, like once we have agency and autonomy a little bit, it's important to be safe in our environment, right? Because if we're not in a safe environment, if we're still going home to the bear, we're going to keep getting re-triggered, right? If we're going to keep getting attacked by the lion, we're going to keep getting re-triggered. So the next affirmations are, I deserve to be safe, right? Helping the client with a safety plan, knowing your safety plan, using your breath. Our breath is our most powerful tool. It's a new opportunity every time you breathe in. And it's letting go of an old thing every time you breathe out, even if you've never thought about it that way before, right? Work towards being a calming presence in your body, right? Not everything is going to be pleasant. Not everything is going to be good or bad. But being able to be comfortable with what is, that's a forever practice. Next here, set the intention to be alive, right? I feel so I can heal. Because if we continue to avoid feeling the things that we don't want to feel, they're just going to keep getting louder and louder. And I know I don't have to tell you all that. You all know from our own experience and from the experience of the people we work with, anything you avoid just gets louder. So letting yourself feel, getting comfortable being uncomfortable means that we can all move forward. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. I don't want to time thief anybody, so I want to make sure to get through these. Once you're safe, once you're safe, then we got self-regulation, right? Staying grounded. As we know, being grounded is the opposite of being addicted, right? Because we're connected to that which is around us. After that, using your consent, using the power of where and how you spend your time, and giving yourself affirmations that your time is valuable. Creating the opportunity to be safe and to grow, right? Be your own best friend, be your own best teacher. You are your own best healer already. You've been doing it your whole life. I create balance between structure and change. That's my serenity prayer vibe, right? I know the things that I have the power to change. I know the things that I don't. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Finally, what we do is service, right? Going above and beyond just ourselves, and that takes compassion. So if you're safe, if you can self-regulate, you can show compassion to others. And that is a really nice affirmation, right? Even if it's just, I am compassionate, and exhaling anything that tells you that something different. And finally, self-determination, right? We all deserve to make our own path in this world. We are all important. We all deserve to be here. We're all doing the work. So take a few moments to give yourself the credit for the work that you do, for the lives that you change, for the way that you just being you perfect in this moment is making everything around us all so much better. And please continue to honor your self-determination and to continue on your path towards being your own best friend, your own best healer, your own best teacher. Thank you so much for letting me time thief you a minute, and for showing up today, and for trying something new and doing some weird stuff, and for all of your thoughtful questions, and for all the work that you do in the world. Thank you, everybody. So our last slide is a bunch of citations and things. I don't know that I got every single thing to cite, but as you get these, please do look into some of these books, some of these resources, some of these TED Talks. My personal contact is in the chat. And just to say it out loud for the recording, you can contact me at Peaceful Health, that's one word, Peaceful Health @icloud.com. And good luck to all of you. Thank you so much for being here in this moment. And thank you, Emily. Couldn't do this without you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I hope you all have a great rest of your workshops and keynotes and all of those fun things. And I will see you all later.
Bye. Nice to meet all of you.